on LinkedIn Live. I think the last time we did something with our collaborative group was back in January. We did a really good session related to all of the transitions that people are now experiencing in the workplace as a result of layoffs, mergers, acquisitions, and various other market forces that have created those types of transitions. We had a really good conversation about that. So if you missed that, you can go check it out. It is on the YouTube channel of Bridget. Tell me what YouTube channel you use for that.
It's my YouTube channel, Bridget Brown Jackson. And I always tell them to spell Bridget right.
And the right spelling of Bridget is
Brigitte.
all right.
Bridget, which should be Brigitte, but that's a whole nother. We in
Brigitte.
Women's History Month. Look, I don't want to have to fight with the woman that brought me in the world.
There you go.
There's
That's the spelling up on the
Jackson.
screen. If you go to that YouTube channel, that session is there. And again, that was from about mid-January. I believe it was January 17th of this year. I might have it on my YouTube channel as well. My YouTube channel is Local Matters Podcast of Georgia. I have some playlists there with our other leadership discussions. And I'll be honest with you, I cannot remember if I posted that one or not. But anyway, there's a way to get to that discussion. Bridget and I, along with several others, have had several YouTube discussions. And by the way, I am Janice Allen Jackson. I don't think I introduced myself. We are cousins by marriage, but not really. And we wanted to just come to you today because this is the last work day of Women's History Month. And we would be remiss if we did not, as two women leaders, take the opportunity to talk some about women's leadership during Women's History Month. Is that right, Bridget?
Absolutely, that is right. We don't want this month to go out because we are leaders and we do so much in leadership without giving the people a little last. I called it marching out.
That's right. Marching out. That's a good way to put it. A good way to put it. In case you are not connected with me on LinkedIn, please do. Again, I am Janice Allen Jackson. I am the principal consultant with Janice Allen Jackson and Associates, where we primarily provide services to local government and nonprofit organizations. I am the host of the Local Matters Podcast of Georgia, which, as I referenced, is on YouTube. We also have a Facebook page, so please subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. And we both get engaged in public speaking. We met through the Black Speakers Network, and that has been an awesome platform to build connections as well as to get the word and our names out there that we are available to speak at various events. Bridget, you want to give them your background, and then we'll get started with our leadership conversation for this month.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, everybody, my name is Bridget Brown Jackson. I am the founder of Exponential EduVentures. We are a consulting firm. We work with leaders to help them develop themselves as well as the teams. And so we're really, really excited to be here today, again, as we're marching out, as I said, of this month and into a whole nother quarter. So we're really excited about that. I am at Bridget Transforms on all platform. And again, Bridget is spelled Brigitte, no D. People love to put D in my name. But Bridget, not like they bridge, transforms on all platforms. And I am on LinkedIn, especially a lot, as well as I have a business Facebook page, a personal Facebook page, and I love shouting out my YouTube channel. So, Janice, I'm really excited to be here. I'm actually going to drop both of our LinkedIn profiles in the comment section.
All right, that'll be excellent so people know how to reach us if needed. As we were talking about doing this, a couple of things were the genesis of the conversation for me. I did a couple of speaking engagements recently related to both women's leadership as well as civic engagement, which is one of my areas of specialty. The purpose of the Local Matters podcast is to help people become more engaged citizens and more confident voters. And in that vein, the League of Women Voters here in the CSRA, which stands for Central Savannah River Area, which, if you don't know what that means I'm in the Augusta, Georgia metro area. The League of Women Voters asked me to come in a couple of weeks ago and talk about what it has meant to be a woman in a leadership role in a local government organization, because of course my background is in local government. They asked me to talk some about that, and then the following weekend I did an event with the Georgia Coalition for the People's Agenda and the Augusta Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, of which I am a proud member. We did a voter education event to really sort of help people get focused, because this is a big election year. So, having thought about those events, and I know, Bridget, you've had some things going on too, we thought this would be a good time to just sort of share with our family here on Facebook and on LinkedIn. So, Bridget, tell me what you've been up to this month.
I've been really working on building out one of the favorite things that I love to talk about. I love to talk about leadership, and my expertise area is women in leadership, because I'm a woman, so I can tell about
Mhm.
other women
Mhm.
how to navigate the terrain, because it's different for us in leadership a little bit, because we actually have other things. And as I grow older, I'm even understanding and learning as I mature, there's a whole different piece with women in leadership as you start getting over 45, 50, 55. It's a whole nother thing. But what I've been talking about lately is really doing a lot with emotional intelligence, because again, I want people to understand our IQ is very important. I mean, knowledge is power, but without emotional intelligence, it's nothing. As we see a lot of people making mistakes, coming to the table with different things that happen sometimes, and it's because they need to sharpen their emotional intelligence just as much as they need to do their cognitive intelligence. And so, been spending a lot of time on that. Got a new book coming out, so been working on that, and I'm just excited. I'm just excited.
All right. Now, as you bring up emotional intelligence, that is something I really want to ask you about. And you combine the notion of emotional intelligence with women in the workplace and women in leadership. Do you think that women bring a different set of soft skills and a different way of approaching emotional intelligence than men probably do in the workplace? Have you noticed any differences?
Absolutely. Again, and I'm a full-time entrepreneur now, running my own firm, but going back to, again, running other people's organizations and being a part of that, there was a difference in the treatment. There's a different expectation. And when I was saying, even learning about when you get past 45, 50, there's things that happen to our bodies hormonally. And so we're dealing with that. But even in our youth, when I was in my childbearing years, just the different expectations, or understanding when you're dealing with trying to balance being in leadership and you're running a family. Um, Men sometimes, and again, this is no discount to them, we're just different. We're just absolutely different. And so sometimes those home expectations can be very, very different. And then the workplace, I believe, sometimes has not made itself conducive to that, if you will. Does that make sense? Uh, what I'm saying, like, if I
Yes.
go back in my youth and I look at some of my colleagues that were male, there was a different treatment. There was a different treatment, period. And we just have to be aware of it and conscious of it. I'm always love talking about conscious competence too. We have to be conscientious about some of these things and the differences of how we treat genders.
Okay. As you bring that up, that really reminded me, took me to a flashback of when I was pregnant with my first child. I was a little bit different from you. I had my children sort of after I had established myself professionally, but I
Yeah.
still think about how demanding that was, how taxing it was for me. I was at one of the baby showers. There was a group of women. I think we called ourselves Women in Network in Albany, Georgia, because that's where I was when my
Uh-huh.
children were both born. And they had a baby shower, and one of the ladies who was there, who happened to be a bank president, by the way, Patsy Martin, she said, "Oh, I got to run back because I've got to be at the baby shower for our city manager." And the person she was talking to looked at her like, "Huh? What?" So that means that your city manager is a woman, and that means that she's young enough to give birth. How did this happen? Which made, called attention to the fact that that was an oddity in and of itself, that
Yes.
the city manager was a woman and that she was young enough to have a child. And that put me in a really unique position all by itself. And I remember back then, this was, 25, 26 years ago. So I remember researching what executive level women are supposed to be doing. How do you juggle all of that? So I spent some time reading articles and trying to understand how I could best balance those responsibilities. And sometimes I'll joke about it, but it's very serious. I would be on the phone, one ear negotiating a contract for something, and I'd be holding a baby, holding an infant in the other. And it just I'm listening to the baby on mom, 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 and then I was like,
Yeah.
hold on, let's talk about the aspects of this contract. So it is an extremely demanding position
Mhm.
for a woman to try to tackle all of that and put all of it on. I remember another day in a similar circumstance. I was at a church in South Georgia. I remember, I believe it was Camilla, Georgia. I was the Women's Day speaker that day, and I had my
Mhm.
kids with me. And the kids' babysitter came because she wanted to help. She knew I would need the help, so
Uh-huh.
she figured she'd watch the kids while I was up. And it was a church that allowed me to be in the pulpit. So while I was up in the pulpit, she could be watching my kids.
Yeah.
Well, my son was fine with that because he had his little, Hot Wheels or whatever. Because he's like, 3 years old or whatever. He had his Hot Wheels. He was just fine. My daughter was not,
Yeah.
even though this was the babysitter that she was used to being with every day. She wasn't okay with this arrangement. She started hollering, and I just said, "Oh, just bring her up to the pulpit with me." So I just figured she would sit in my lap until it was time for me to get up and speak. And then, she calmed down because it was a lady sitting next to me. She said, "Oh, I'll hold her, no problem." It's time for me to get up. She didn't want that lady to hold her either.
Wow.
So this baby was 15 months old, and my mother said, she was a block of lead from the beginning. So
I love to
I had
see the
her,
personality now.
I had her in my left arm,
Uh-huh.
and I'm just flipping through pages of my speech. And next thing I look, this child has gone to sleep on me. So
Wow.
I'm like, okay, if I move her, that might wake her up. So I literally moved her from hand to hand during the course of the speech so my left arm wouldn't fall off. But that was
Yeah.
just indicative of the types of challenges that I think women who are attempting to juggle being a mom, the household responsibilities, still being out in the community, still wanting to share the words that God in my experiences had given me in various settings. And it was a rough road. It was a rough road to try to do all that.
Absolutely. And this is a piece of understanding that piece, like not seeing it because of the work that I do right now, uh in my coaching aspect. Well, I'll even say my consulting aspect of my business. Um we we can juggle as women, but we have to understand that. I think a lot of times in the workforce, we don't see the superpower as much. And I'm not even just talking about women, period. And people, in human beings, period. A lot of times I am seeing it as I'm talking to clients and doing things, people don't see that value. We're a society that will look a lot of times at limitations. We like to look at the negative, and that's not, again, discounting anybody. That's almost just our nature as human beings. We can blame it on that cortisol, blame it on that brain that sometimes, like, it's in fight or flight. So we're conditioned sometimes with that. I love to tell people like this: you're driving down the street or on the freeway, and traffic is slowing up. You're like, what is going on? Is it an accident? You get up there and it's like, no, A bystander is on the side of the road and everybody had to stop and gawk and look. It's just part of our new nature. And I think that piece of seeing some of the limitations sometimes has become a part of our society. And if we really truly value women and understand what women can bring to the workforce, it is absolutely, absolutely amazing. In fact, today I was watching a rerun of Jennifer Hudson's show, and she had on there Jamie. Oh my God, what is her last name? It Cosmetics. Whatever, I can't think. Kern is her former name. Kern something. Lima, I think. Lima is her last name. But and she was talking about running her multi-million-dollar organization, but still having to struggle with understanding her worth. And I think everybody have issues of worth, but I think a lot of women, we really have to fight that a lot of times because society has been set up. We are a male dominated world if we're still true. And we're in 2024, but we still have some of those issues, some of those things. So you tell me, that's my opinion. I have to tell everybody else, that's my opinion. What about you, Janice?
And I can see where you're coming from with that. Even all the statistics have changed. I think now half of the people graduating from law school are women, and maybe a third of those graduating from medical school are female. So there has been progress, but you're right, sort of like the die has been cast and the setup is here. And it is hard for women to change the paradigm, I think. As you were saying that, I thought about the notion of who runs for office, because we got into that when I was having my conversation with the Coalition for the People's Agenda and Delta Sigma Theta. We're talking about voter education a little bit, touched on who runs for office. And I didn't say it there, but I will say it here today. Women are less likely to run for office because women don't perceive that they're as qualified as the male is.
Here we go.
The man will look at an office or even apply for a job, whatever it is. They're not sitting there scrutinizing the qualifications and saying, oh, I don't have this and I don't have that. That's what women do. Say, no, I'm not ready for this because I don't have A, B, C, and D. The man just decides, hey, I want to run. And they get out there and run. Mm-hmm. Or I want to apply for this job, and they get out and apply for it. So we have been conditioned to disqualify ourselves sometimes because we'll say, I don't have this or I don't have that, whereas they're just full steam ahead.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when we're talking in generalization. So we know that it's not everybody, but it is a good majority. And that's the thing that I was saying. I'm not even saying that women, I know there's a lot more women who have transitioned, and we have that, but we still have, just like schools. Let me go here. This is a good analogy for what women are dealing with in the workforce. It's almost like the schools. I just spent 30 years in education, being a teacher and a principal, and our school system still looks like it did 100 years ago. We're still, even our school calendar is based off of an industrial calendar. It's not based off of, again, what we need now, technology, 21st century. And I think that's the same thing that's happening with a lot of women that's in the workplace. I do believe that we have a lot more opportunities and chances, but there are some other dynamics in the culture of some organizations. And then in addition, like you said, then as women, we're second doubting because, again, we're not trained, as youngsters. Well, I ain't gonna say that because this new generation, I've interviewed some of them and talking to some of them, especially with my podcast, having some people come on, and they just have a different mindset. And I'm excited about it because some of them, you can't tell them nothing. And I'm like, I want to say, no, sit down for a minute. You need to learn some things, but at the same time, don't take away that that inspiration that they have, that I can do anything. My daughter is one. Like that girl, I'm just excited every time I talk to her. She just hit 30 this year. And it's like, listen, go for it. She does not have that same mentality. Matter of fact, she was in between jobs, and she was and she works for a major Fortune 100 company. And when I was telling her about negotiating some stuff for her last position that she was at, I said, "Well, think about it like this." She said, my friend," and she started naming off men and how much they were being paid. And she was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, no, 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 no." I was like, "Well, just take it and then just kind of negotiate it." But we can talk about that. That's some generational stuff. Our
Mhm.
generation was like, "Okay, but this is a good opportunity." Their generation is like, "No, it better be a good opportunity and it better be the best for me." So some of these
Mhm.
young people, I'm excited for them. I'm really excited for them.
Yeah, and I'm excited about the changes as well. Like I said, I think the culture will gradually begin to shift as you write. There's this next generation takes hold in the workplace, but it's taken a long, long ways for us. It's been a long journey for us to get there, and how we perceive ourselves. How concerned we are with how others perceive us, because that's one of the things from our generation. We're thinking about what other folks are thinking. These younger folks, they ain't thinking about what other folks are thinking. I really don't think they are. I know the men are, and I don't think the women really are either.
Nope. It goes back to, again, some of this emotional intelligence, their emotional intelligence, especially when it comes to that self-awareness. Like they are,
Mhm.
and I have to talk again. I have some of them as clients, and I was like, "Wait a minute, slow down, hold up." And they're like, "No, I think they come out with confidence, but they also have value. They understand their value. No one else gets to define their value." And I love that. I absolutely love that. So that's where I was going with Jamie from It Cosmetics. She was on Jennifer Hudson's show, and that's what she was talking about. She was talking about she was very confident in her role as a leader. She's running a multi-million dollar organization that she started. And because of how she looked and because of her physical, not just her beauty, but also her physical appearance, her body style, that she was told by a major investor, "No, I will never invest in yours. And this will not even move off the ground." And years later, look at her now.
Yeah.
But
How
the
you
thing
like me now?
Exactly. The thing that I love that she was sharing, she was talking about was her worth though. She didn't understand her worth. So she just came out with a new book called Worth. And she was talking about we have to have worth and understand our worth. She's talking to everybody, but most of the audience were women. And she had to share that because that's another thing. You just said it earlier. You hit on it. Men come into the workforce and they're like, "I can do this and I'm going to do this," but they're trained to go out there and be aggressive, assertive. And then as women, if we do some of those same things, it's like, no. Now I'm a minister, y'all. So I believe woman still has a place, but that place doesn't mean a place that's lower. There's some things that I think as women we need to do, and we need to be feminine. My husband, I'm like, I ain't around here trying to show off my muscles. That's his job to be able to do.
Yeah.
But as a woman, though, there are some things that we still can be assertive in, and we can have that, and it's okay for us to do that because, again, you and I are Christians, and we believe in this. There's some kingdom building that needs to happen. And if we're going to do some of that kingdom building, we have to literally be able to be out there, to be assertive, and also know our purpose and our value and our worth too.
Yeah. And when it comes to EQ, exactly, and when it comes to EQ or emotional intelligence, I think where women have an advantage is the focus on interpersonal skills. I mean,
Mhm.
we really are most of the time looking around the environment, trying to engage others, trying to build relationships with others, so that we can get a good collaborative product, and everybody feels like they've been heard. And a lot of times with men, and I mean, not, I know I got a lot of male friends and connections out there on Facebook and LinkedIn, so don't be offended by this. But I was just doing in a conversation with a client. I do executive search work as part of my consulting practice. And I was talking to somebody in an organization, and he talked about the need for not having somebody in this particular position who is my way or the highway. Um, I think that's something that is a thing of the past. You talk about culture in years past. and how we are evolving. I think that's something women are less likely to do. Now, I've seen some women who are that way. I'm not trying to sugarcoat that, but I think that is one of the ways that focus on building the interpersonal skills and building relationships and trust. I think that's one of the things that women leaders many times bring to the table. That is a little bit different and is an enhancement to the work environment. Have you seen that trend too?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I love the term that you just said, an enhancement to the work environment.
Mhm.
Always going to go back to that is people understanding what they bring. What's that value that you bring to the table? And again, we're talking about women because this is Women's History Month. But again, no matter
Mhm.
what you are, male or female, men and women alike bring value, and then understanding that and doing that. So yeah, that's a great point that you just brought up.
Okay. All right. So, tell us about your book. Because I just happened to look on Facebook, what, yesterday, day before. I said, Bridget's got a new book. She didn't tell me she was working on a book. Tell us about this book.
Yeah, that's been a work in progress. So, for the people that are listening that may not know who I am, um, again, my name is Bridget Brown Jackson. 6 months ago, I lost my 26-year-old son, and it was abruptly. He wasn't sick. Right now, it's a ongoing police investigation. So we're still trying to find out what happened with his death. How did he die? And so, going through the grief. Yeah, I'm a minister. I said earlier, I'm a leader, and I don't know how to just sit back and fiddle my thumbs. But over the past 6 months, I have been taking care of myself. So I want to talk about that too. Let's come back to that mental health. You said something earlier that just triggered me to remind mental health.
Mhm.
Um, so for my mental health, I'm taking care of that. But I have been running into a lot of people who are grieving, and some have been grieving for years and years, and they're almost a little stuck. And so, one of the things that I always try to do is my goal is to help people. Everybody's grief journey is different. And I have my moments. The past 2 days have been good days. But 3 days ago, yeah, took almost an hour to put my feet on the ground to get out of the bed. And so I decided, well, let me get with some of my other friends and people that I know who have lost children. And we are doing a book anthology. It's called Out of Order, and it will be out on the book stands in May, the end of May. And so we're really excited about it because the whole goal of it is to offer hope to other people. And so the original intention was we were going to do a book for women who have lost their children, and then a book for men who have lost their children. And we actually end up combining it together. So we have some moms and some dads that are telling their unique story and their journey on this grief process. Uh, yep. So that's what it's all about. So really excited.
Okay. All right. So you have been able to deal with your grief by writing, which is an important tool to do that, as well as looking for outlets to help others by putting this in a book form to share. That
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
that is great.
Yeah.
You know what? That reminds me of month or so ago. I can't remember exactly when it was. I had a Local Matters podcast guest who just did an anthology similar to what yours sounds like, did an anthology related to motherless daughters, those who had lost their
I saw
moms.
that. I saw that.
And
I saw
yeah.
that. Yes.
So
Yeah.
you're flipping on the other side, parents who've lost children,
Yeah.
and, obviously both of those circumstances are devastating
Yeah.
for anybody. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
glad
can't
that you
remember your guest name, but yeah, I saw that when you
her
posted
name
it on
was
social
Monique.
media, and I went to
Yeah.
follow her. Yes, yes. So I followed her because I thought that that was a unique take as
Yeah.
well.
I'm
Yeah,
glad that you did follow her. Yeah, her name is Monique Hurt Williams.
yeah,
She's a former journalist in the Augusta area. She was a news anchor here and is now doing marketing, PR sort of work, I believe. But yeah, she wrote that book, and it was it's a great little read.
yeah,
It's a quick read, and it's a good, really good book. So,
yeah.
and you also hit on something else. I started off talking about the challenge of trying to build a career, and you got these little babies. You're coming back now showing that the challenges of motherhood remain regardless of where you are in your career, where you are in terms of your age, your status in life, the parenting thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Even in the absence of it, being able to do that and then show leadership. One of the things that we have upcoming that we're going to be doing, and when I say we, you and I, along with some of the other leaders that are in our little collaborative that we have, talking about when leading in crisis, and so as women, again, we have to lead through crisis sometimes. And again, not discounting the male perspective, but sometimes our type of crisis is a little bit, again, different, because we're dealing with some things that, to be honest with you, it's still taboo. At the beginning,
Mhm.
I was talking about the fact of, as I'm maturing, you know, finding out so much stuff. I thought I knew stuff about menopause. It's a whole lot of stuff I don't know, didn't know. And even dealing with that for people that are still in traditional roles in a 9 to 5, and having to balance that and do all of that. And so I've been doing a lot of research, and I was finding some different organizations that attune to that. So that's why I wanted to go. You said something earlier. I wanted to go back to the mental health, because that all fits into this mental health awareness. And we know, we have mental health month coming up. And so it's really important for us as leaders, or people that you might be in a quasi leader role, or you might not be in a leader role, but to make sure that the culture in your organization is reflecting that, and having those spaces and those places to be able to have a healthy mental, and
Mhm.
again, our bodies are changing, all kinds of things are happening, and are we attuning to that? So I have been really doing a lot of articles, researching some of these major organizations to see how they're understanding not just the work performance that people bring to the table, but also understanding their needs, emotionally, socially, and mentally, as well as physically too.
Mhm.
So I'm loving to hear that, because that will help, again, a lot of females that are in the workplace.
Okay. And as you say that, it reminded me of something that made me cringe. This was related to female athletes. When you start thinking about mental health, when you mentioned that, I start thinking about Naomi Osaka, tennis player. I started thinking about Simone Biles.
Yeah,
Both of them kind of took mental health breaks.
yeah,
Now, of course, Naomi's break then was extended by the fact that she gave birth, which is a
hmm,
whole other topic, for female athletes to give birth at the peak of their careers. And Simone took some time off. Now she's gone back. She also got married. There's some, for lack of a better term, uninformed folks on YouTube. Of course, YouTube has become a platform for everybody's opinion about everything, whether it makes any sense or not. They're just trying to get views.
everybody's a journalist.
Yeah, it turned everybody into a journalist. Everybody's a columnist. Everybody has an opinion that they believe is worthy of the rest of us paying attention to. And there's one, I won't even call him I won't dignify him to call him by name, but this was, probably a year or two, maybe 2 years ago or so, but it stuck with me because it was so egregious in terms of the critique of female athletes. I mean, he made the observation, they need to take a mental health break. Well, the truth of the matter is these women just can't handle it.
Mhm.
And I'm sitting there thinking, what? Stop, dude. Do you realize that Naomi Osaka basically has had a tennis racket in her hand every day since she was 3 years old? Do
Yes.
you realize everything that she has been through to become a world class athlete? It's not for the faint of heart. And if you understood that, you would know how much perseverance, mental toughness, hard work, time, blood, sweat, tears that she's put into all this to get where she is. And the same with Simone Biles. But yeah, these women can't handle it just because they said they were honest and open about the fact that they needed mental health breaks.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I said about understanding the physiological part aspect of women, as well as, again, that mental piece that comes together. And when we understand a lot of that, again, and I just said it, as a woman, I didn't understand some women's issues, and I'm a woman. And so we really have to do a better job in the workforce, to be able to, handle some of those things. But I'm glad we're having the conversation. So, and I'm glad that people are standing up for themselves. So yeah, when I saw that, I was happy for both of them, because again, at the end of the day, it's about what's going to bring you that peace, because you can't be
Mhm.
effective if you're not
Mhm.
at your best.
Yeah, and they're under so much pressure.
Absolutely.
Uh, I mean, just the degree of public scrutiny. You imagine somebody watching every single move you make, and jumping to conclusions and with uninformed conclusions because they
Yeah.
don't know what's going on.
But even
So it really
their
is a
routines. Uh-oh.
yeah.
I said, even their routines, is strenuous. I can't imagine having the schedules that some of these athletes
Mm-mm,
have.
mm-mm,
Their
mm-mm.
discipline is whoo. So it is a lot. It really is a lot. And so understanding that and taking that all together. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think the corporate entities, as you talk about mental health, do you think our corporations and other large workplaces are now giving people the opportunities to deal with that? I mean, every organization I've worked for has always had an employee assistance program, an EAP,
Hmm.
but sometimes it might need to go further than that. Do you think? Are you seeing some shifts in
Yeah.
how those organizations deal with that?
And because of my network, I network with a lot of mental health
Mhm,
advocates and practitioners, and so I'm seeing it from what I didn't know was out there, because
mhm,
again, they're sharing some of the corporations they work for, some of the work that they're doing. And so I do think that we have it. Again, you said we met because we are in the Black Speakers Network, and so we're in a network of speakers, so professional speakers. And so even in that community, I'm seeing a lot of people speaking on that topic. So I
mhm,
do, as you said, every organization I work for had a EAP. And
mhm,
but I will say, and even, being a part of the leadership in the organization, I
mhm,
don't think the knowledge is even common for even some of those programs and things. I would find staff that didn't even know, all of the benefits that they had. And so being able to use those and utilize them and to have everything that we need. I will stress this, and I said at the beginning that I've been talking a lot about emotional intelligence, and that mental piece is so very, very important, so that you can have an effective uh, EQ as much as your IQ. But the mental, taking care of that piece has to be a priority. And so I love seeing those organizations that they are making it a priority. They're doing certain things. Even my husband on his position that he's in, they've been talking a little bit more about it. But at the same time, there was an issue one day with somebody who needed time, and then they're questioning them taking the time off, but they have mental days. So I just had, somebody with that issue in the past couple of weeks. So as a society, I think we have to be balanced and have some harmony with that, because it's needful. COVID changed everything for us.
it
COVID
did, it
changed
really
everything.
did. But you know what? I think the good news about COVID is that, yes, everybody was going through something mentally during that time period. So it became more acceptable to talk about it and to try to address it. But there were issues a long time before COVID took place. It just opened the door to have more frank discussion, I think,
Absolutely.
about some of the issues and the adverse consequences of that. I remember when the pandemic first started. In fact, I started my Local Matters podcast right around the time that the pandemic started. In fact, I had my first episode on March 4th, and then what about March 12th, March 15th, the whole world just shut down. And one of the earlier shows I did was with an organization in Augusta that provides shelter for uh, those who have suffered through domestic violence.
Mhm.
And the guest talked about how they were seeing more and more people come through because everybody was so frustrated because of the pandemic. You don't know what's going on. You don't know who has it and who doesn't have it. At that point, if you had it, it felt like a death sentence, for so many. And then you're trapped at home with somebody that you aren't used to spending that much time with. And there were a lot of domestic violence incidents as a result of that.
Yeah.
So that whole the anger management, the dealing with your feelings is something that COVID taught us that we had to deal with. But a lot of those feelings were in place prior to the pandemic.
Absolutely. Since you just said that, it just made me think about this. And what is your take on this? That as leaders sometimes, so go back to women
Mhm.
leadership, as leaders sometimes, do you think, and when you were just talking about that, I don't know why, but Jason Wilson came to my thought. He has the book, oh Lord, Cry Like a Man, I think is the title of it. I
Mhm.
just went blank. But
Mhm.
he talks about men sharing their emotions and everything. As
Mhm.
women, we share our emotions. But what I
Mhm.
found out is that women in leadership, though, sometimes are not as transparent. So what's
You
your take on that?
'Cause you feel like you're on an island. I can speak to that. And we as city managers generally, I mentioned I had a career in the public sector. I was a city manager before I became a consultant. And yeah, Dwayne just
Dwayne said,
chimed in. It is
"Cry like
cry
a
like
man."
a man. Thank you, Dwayne. Uh, um, Managers generally, you feel like when you're at the top of the organization, you're on an island because it's like, who can you talk to? I mean, there are just very few safe spaces because your subordinates. I mean, you can't talk about one subordinate to another one, and you don't have a peer in the organization. You're working for an elected council, your board that you're reporting to. So a lot of things you don't want to share with them. You don't want to share anything with them until you have it fully baked. Let me put it that way. So it can be perceived as a sign of weakness if you're sharing that, hey, I just don't know what to do with this particular situation, or hey, this literally is driving me crazy and I got to do something about it. You there are a limited number of people, unless you have excellent family support, unless you're talking to others who may be in other communities who are in similar situations to yours, and you got to build that network. Unless you have a really good family and professional support network, yeah, a lot of those things can go unspoken. And we have definitely seen in our profession with both men and women, I mean, it's coming out more and more. With I look on LinkedIn and I'll see that some city manager somewhere say, yeah, I quit for mental health reasons.
Yeah,
I couldn't spend quality time with my family. I wasn't enjoying life anymore.
yeah.
Everything was a burden, and they felt like they had to let it go because of that. So, and in particular, that's going to be an issue for women because people are already questioning why you're there to begin with.
Mhm.
And going to what I said, the YouTuber said in regard to Naomi and Simone, was these women can't handle it.
Yeah,
It turns into a sexist conversation with all sorts of gender overtones that probably don't belong in the conversation, but that's where it goes when it's a
absolutely.
woman. So yes, we very much feel like we're out on an island. And I know in my particular situation, and yeah, I mentioned professional network, I mentioned family support. That the third thing, which is probably the most significant that I know you can relate to, is your faith. And sometimes if God's the only person you feel like you can really talk to, so you find yourself having a lot of conversations with God.
A lot.
Yeah, a lot of
I used to go sit in my car and be like, "Look, Jesus, we got to talk."
Mhm.
So when you do before we wrap up, I want to add this in here too. You asked, what did I have going on? One of the things is women in grief. As I said, women in crisis has really been something. And so I'm actually transitioning part of my business to be available. We just got through saying, women in leadership, sometimes they don't have that sounding board, or they don't have the people that they really can be as fully transparent as they need to be. Because I think everybody should be transparent.
Mhm.
I had some transparency on the job,
Mhm.
but there's certain conversations, like you said, you cannot tell, especially when you have direct reports. You can't tell, but you need a support system. And
Mhm.
so that's something that I'm working out to design right now, because I don't want any woman left behind. I don't want any leader left behind. And if you happen to be both of them, then putting together, I tell people all the time, you need people, systems, and processes. You
Mhm.
want to be really, really, truly successful. Those are the three things that you need. And so, who are your people? What are your systems? And how are your processes? And so, just having that. So, I just wanted to say that before we end it. Um, if women are out there and they feel like they're on the island, don't be on the island. Get in a network. That's how you and I met. We met
Right.
in somebody
Right.
else's network, and
Right.
now we've formed our own. And now we have other people collabing with us. We started it out and we grabbed some other people and was like, hey, come on. And now we have this leadership collective, and so it's important. Don't be on the island by yourself.
Yeah. And find ways, and sometimes it feels difficult to find your people, find the tribe that really can support you. So I always say too, and I know you do as well, be prayerful about who it is that you invite into your circle and into your network. Unfortunately, there's some people you can't trust, and there's some people that just, you could trust them, but they just don't understand where you are. So that's why joining professional associations, in fact, one of the professional associations that I belong to, the Georgia City County Managers Association, when we had our fall meeting, we had a speaker come in and address mental health. And he said, get the phone number of somebody sitting at your table right now so that you all can check in with each other periodically, as a way to build that support network. Because yeah, not everybody has it, and sometimes you're afraid to reach out. But you're right, you just gotta pray to be led to the right people. You gotta put yourself in the right place, and you gotta pray to be led to the right people,
And it
so
takes
that
some
you can
time.
help you pull
It
that
takes
off.
some time. I've
Mhm.
established, and I've gotten with a lot of people, and we're still colleagues and we still talking stuff, but it isn't like some of the things haven't sustained. And
Mhm.
it's okay. I love that saying that people say, sometimes people are in your life for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. And
Mhm.
just be flexible with that. Be very, very flexible with that. And so, like I said, you're one of the people that, okay, we started and we have
Mhm.
continued on.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and we've continued on a regular basis, but that's because we started our own little network.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
be patient. Your person is out there. I tell people all the time, especially unmarried people, I tell them, your Boaz is out there.
Mhm.
God
Mhm.
gave me mine. Took 6 years before the time God showed me the dream, a vision
Mhm.
rather, and he appeared. But it's going to come. It's going to come. So the right people, the right tribe that you want to have will be there. But get in a tribe. Get in
Yeah,
a tribe.
tribe.
That
Get
makes
in the tribe for sure. And I know some people aren't natural extroverts, and they're more,
say everybody
loners.
got Bridget.
But I have found out in terms of business,
Yeah.
building connections is the key to everything. You really got to build some connections, and those people who are good networkers are the ones who do it most successful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Leverage that relational capacity. I want to show a picture before we go out. Uh,
Mhm.
created this.
Oh, oh! Look what you created.
Yeah, so that was the header
It's
for
so
our
cool.
page. And so for the month of April, month of March, some of the people, most of the people that are in the color, I did series on them. And then the ones
Mhm.
that are in the black and white faces, most of them I did for Black History Month,
Mhm.
teaching, just about some powerful women. And so I would
Mhm.
suggest to people is get somebody, grab somebody. Who is that person that you can stand on their shoulders so that you can lead an amazing, amazing life? Get you some real life people. And so, Janice, you're one of those people for me. your real
Right.
life. You've done some things that I haven't done. We've both been in leadership, but your leadership track was different than mine. And so you're my go-to person for certain things because I'm like, you've had different experiences. You've been in government. And so it's like, oh, as a matter of fact, when we get off here, I gotta call you. Look,
Okay.
because I have a question for you.
Okay.
But get that person. Who is that person and stand on them? I love it. Dwayne says 98% of successful businesses are successful because of strategic partnerships.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
He's another one. He's a part of our collaborative, a part of our stuff. And so, again, having that and making that happen. So, I just wanted to show some of those beautiful women faces in case people didn't see our promo that went out before this live landed. And let me move this so people can see our names. Look at that. Janice Allen
Okay.
Jackson and
Cool
Bridget
beans.
Brown Jackson.
That's all right. That's all right. And that is beautiful. Now, I remember you doing the Black History series every day during February. You profiled a certain person for about 5, 7 minutes every
Yeah.
day. Did you do that in Women's History Month too?
I did 10 days of
10 days.
women
Okay.
history. Yeah.
Okay. And those are, if people wanted to watch those, where can they find them?
They are actually on my YouTube channel. So they are on my YouTube channel as well as if they scroll down LinkedIn, they'll find it, but they don't have to do that. They can just go to Bridget
Mhm.
Brown Jackson, my YouTube channel, and they can find that whole series.
Okay. All right. Awesome. And your YouTube channel again is?
Bridget Brown Jackson.
Okay, cool beans, cool beans. Likewise, some of the things that I talked about, the a couple of speeches I did last week, or speeches, presentation. I hate to call them speeches; they're really talks because I
Yeah.
just like to talk, as you all can tell. I just like to talk and share knowledge and relate various incidents to things that are happening in our country. What it means in terms of where we as individuals, how it connects with us as individuals. I like to do that. And that's the purpose of most of the talks that I give. I did the one with the League of Women Voters. That one is on the League of Women Voters of the CSRA Facebook page in its entirety. There's a little background noise there, but I think you can still get the gist of what we're talking about. And on that one, as well, the voter education presentation that I did last weekend, it is on my YouTube channel. It is on the civic engagement playlist. I've got playlists for various things that I've done. So that's on our civic engagement playlist because that's really the purpose, to get people more interested in what's happening in their community and how they can control their quality of life by making good voting decisions and getting familiar with the issues. So Local Matters Podcast of Georgia YouTube channel, please go to subscribe. And most importantly, go through the videos. There are maybe 40, 50 videos there. Go through those, see something you like. My purpose is for you to become more educated. So we love for you to have the opportunity to do that along with the Local Matters family.
And
If you want to learn
actually,
more
Janice,
about
I
me,
pulled
please
it
connect
up.
with me here on LinkedIn. Okay, did you? Okay, let's see if we can get it.
I pulled it up. I never did this, so let me see if I want to share
Let's
this
see if it works.
screen.
Let's see if it works. That's one of the things too. I was taking a class yesterday. We were talking about stepping outside of your comfort zone. So you have stepped outside of your comfort
I
zone,
know.
but
I was
trying to
like, I
do
don't know if I
something,
want to do this, and they see my open windows, but I don't have no open windows.
but
Oh,
by trying to do something on LinkedIn Live that you've never done before. Let's see.
nope, it's not showing it.
It's not coming up. Okay.
It's not showing it. It's only showing part of the screen when I look at the sample. So,
Okay. All righty. We'll figure it out for next time.
oh, you
But
know what?
but
No, I ain't gonna pull it up. I'm gonna. There we go. Oops. Okay. So no, it's it's showing multiple windows. I've done it
okay.
one time. I've done it one
Okay.
time. I had the background of doing the stuff. But yeah, Local Matters. I could put it in the comments for you though.
Yeah. Local
So
Matters Podcast of Georgia. We discuss all sorts of community issues, homelessness. Bridget's been on to talk about the Flint water crisis and
yeah.
the impact on education with that. So, environmental issues, educational issues, homelessness, foster care. We have taken on a number of topics. What local prosecutors do. I've had our Augusta DA on. Yeah, that link is in the Local Matters Podcast in Georgia. Thank you so much, Bridget. So please, if you get a chance, please do subscribe to that YouTube channel. And please reach out to either one of us if you are looking for speakers for upcoming events. You've got meetings, conferences, trainings. We both do workshops as well as we do discussion groups and speeches and things of that nature. So thank you so much for joining us as we conclude Women's History Month. You got anything else, Bridget, before we close out?
No, I was just gonna say that. Like, just be powerful, be in you. Again, thank you. Dwayne has been commenting. Again, he's a part of our little leadership collaborative. So whether you're male or female, just make sure you show up for yourself. But we are honored to have been able to do some amazing things in Women's History Month. And so, Janice, I thank you for all that you do. And again, I watch your podcast. I look at the guests and I inbox them. I'm like, hey, I'm a friend of Janice's too. Look. So it's
All
just
right.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah. But
All
what
right.
you just said, I'm available for speaking events as well as consultations. And so they can go to my website, bridgetbrownjackson.com. That's all I had.
All right. This has been an awesome Women's History Month 2024 and an awesome way to end Women's History Month 2024. This is Good Friday. Sunday is Easter, or as I prefer to refer to it as Resurrection Sunday. So we wish everybody a peaceful weekend where you truly reflect on the love of Jesus Christ.
Absolutely.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.